My hands trembled so violently that I nearly dropped the phone onto the tile floor. My 8-year-old boy was doubled over on the living room sofa, his small face drained of every drop of color. He whispered, "Mommy, my tummy feels like it's on fire," trying not to frighten me, but I was already drowning in panic. My car sat useless in the driveway with a dead engine, no warning, no backup plan. I called my parents. My father picked up on the second ring, sounding irritated. "What's wrong now?" "Dad, I need your vehicle. Please. He's in serious distress. I think it could be an emergency. I have to rush him to the hospital." A long exhale. Then my mother's voice in the background, "Not our headache. Figure something out. Your sister has a major presentation. She needs the SUV." I froze, certain I had heard wrong. "Dad, he's 8 years old. And your sister's professional future matters more. Don't make this a thing." In the distance, I caught my sister's relaxed tone. "Just tell her I can't be late." Something inside me turned to stone. I looked at my son, now curled into a tighter ball, fighting back tears. "All right," I said softly. I ended the call. No shouting, no pleading, no drama. I grabbed my phone again, but not to redial them. Because in that instant, I understood something I'd ignored for decades. And I swore I would never forget it again. Some betrayals arrive in silence, not screams. I'd lived this movie before. Not the hospital terror, but the pattern. They always picked her. Growing up, her field trips were essential. Her birthday parties were grander. Her screw-ups were accidents. Mine were acts of defiance. I learned early to shrink, to want less, to never expect fairness. But this was a new low. I wrapped a fleece blanket around my son and hurried outside, my fingers shaking as I tried to order a rideshare. No cars available. Just a loading wheel and rising dread. "Mom," his little voice cracked behind me. I stopped waiting. I sprinted to the neighbor's porch and pounded on the door like my life depended on it. Mrs. Patterson swung it open, eyes wide. One glance at my son, and she waved us in. "Let's go." The drive felt like a bad dream. Every stoplight was a personal enemy. I kept glancing back at my son in the rear seat, his eyes fluttering, his breathing shallow. "Stay awake, baby. We're almost there." I whispered it like a prayer. When we finally pulled into the emergency entrance, nurses swept him away immediately. Hours crawled by, tests, monitors, waiting. Then a doctor appeared, face grave. "You got him here just in time," he said. My stomach dropped. Another hour, and the infection would have done serious damage. I nodded slowly, but inside, something cracked open. Because sitting there in that plastic chair, replaying every moment, I realized this wasn't just carelessness. This was something far darker. The next morning, my phone began buzzing. I didn't answer. 1 call, 5 calls, 15 calls. By the time it reached 42 missed alerts, I just stared at the glowing screen and let it fade to black. My son slept next to me, finally stable, heart monitor beeping softly in the background. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt something I'd never experienced. Absolute clarity. Not rage, not noise, just quiet certainty. I opened my texts. "Dad, call us immediately." "Mom, you're being overly emotional again." "My sister, don't turn this into a performance about you." I almost laughed. About me? Had any of it ever been about me? I looked at my son's tiny hand resting on the hospital blanket, an IV taped to his wrist. This had never been about me, and that's when it hit me like a wave. It never was. I didn't respond to a single message. Instead, I started thinking. Really thinking. I replayed the phone call, their cold tone, the way they didn't pause for even a heartbeat. No worry, no second thought. Just a verdict, like my son didn't matter, like he was invisible. My phone buzzed again. This time I picked it up not to answer, but to act. I opened a digital notebook, then another. Names, timestamps, incidents. Every single time they chose her. Every moment I stayed silent. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was gathering evidence. Because for the first time in my life, I stopped trying to be understood. I started preparing to walk away. I didn't go straight home after my son's discharge. Instead, I took him to a small cabin I'd booked for a week. I needed distance, not just from them, but from every lie I'd told myself. That night, while he slept peacefully, I opened my laptop. I don't know what made me check. Instinct, maybe, or years of swallowed silence finally rising. I logged into an old family account my father had once set up for emergencies. What I found was no emergency. It was a blueprint. Property deeds, transferred weeks earlier. The main house, the vacation cottage, even the joint savings my mother always called family protection. All of it shifted, all of it under my sister's name alone. I stared at the screen, reading the lines over and over, hoping the words would rearrange themselves. They didn't. There were notes attached too. Brief, clinical, better to secure assets early. She'll understand eventually. My chest tightened, but no tears came, because suddenly everything clicked. The dismissals, the coldness, the way they didn't pretend to care when my son was suffering. When people show you their final decision, believe it the first time. They'd already made their choice. Weeks before that phone call. Months before that horrible night. I closed the computer slowly and leaned back into the darkness. I wasn't hurt anymore. I wasn't confused. I was certain. This wasn't neglect. This was betrayal. Planned, signed, and sealed. And now, it was my turn to answer. I didn't confront them. Not that day, not the next. I let them keep ringing. 42 calls became 55, then 70. Voicemails piled up. My mother's tone shifted from annoyed to anxious to suddenly sweet. My father tried stern, then worried. My sister, she never apologized, not even once. Perfect. I needed them exactly like this, comfortable in their own version of reality. I sat at the small kitchen table, laptop open, documents spread out like a puzzle. Every file I found, I saved. Every transfer, every signature, every date. I wasn't guessing anymore. I was building something. A case. I made quiet calls, legal advisors, financial audits, background searches. I didn't use my normal accounts. I left no trail they could follow. They thought I was shattered, desperate, still begging for their approval. That illusion became the most powerful weapon they ever gave me. At night, I watched my son breathe, his small chest rising and falling steadily. That was all the proof I needed. This wasn't about winning an argument. It was about making sure nobody could ever put him in that position again. My phone buzzed. Mom, we need to talk. Now. I read the message, then set the phone down without replying. Because the truth was, we would talk. Just not the way they expected. And when that conversation happened, they wouldn't be holding the reins anymore. Who really controls a conversation when one side has already stopped asking for permission? I picked the moment carefully. Not too early, not too late. Just enough time for them to settle into their confidence, to believe my silence meant surrender. When I finally texted back, it was simple. Come over tomorrow. We'll talk. No anger, no questions. Exactly what they wanted to see. They arrived on time. My mother walked in first, already wearing a rehearsed look of concern. My father followed, stiff and guarded. My sister came last, phone in her palm, barely glancing up. I kept my voice steady. Have a seat. They sat. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then my mother reached for my hand. "We were so worried. You overreacted, sweetheart." I slid a folder across the table. She stopped. My father frowned. "What's this?" "Open it," I said. Pages turned slowly at first, then faster. I watched their faces change, confusion, recognition. Then something sharper. My sister finally looked up. "Where did you get these?" I didn't answer. Instead, I tapped my phone once. A soft click echoed through the room. My father's eyes shot toward it. "What was that?" "Nothing," I said calmly. "Just making sure we don't forget anything from this discussion." Silence. Heavy. Unbearable. They had walked in thinking this was about feelings, about me being too sensitive, but now they were sitting across from evidence. And without realizing it, they had already started saying exactly what I needed them to say. My father cleared his throat, trying to regain command. "This doesn't mean what you think it means." I didn't interrupt. I just watched. My mother flipped through the papers again, her fingers unsteady now. "We were safeguarding the family. You've always been so unpredictable." "Unpredictable?" I almost smiled. My sister leaned back, crossing her arms. "Let's be honest. You were never going to handle responsibility the way I do." There it was. Clean. Clear. On record. I tapped my phone again, holding eye contact. "Say that once more." She hesitated. Too late. My father slammed his palm on the table. "Enough. You're blowing this out of proportion. We did what was best." "Best for whom?" I asked quietly. Silence. Nobody answered. I slid one final document across the table. They hadn't seen this one before. My father picked it up. His face went pale almost instantly. "What is this?" "A formal legal challenge," I said. "Every asset you transferred, every choice you made without my knowledge, it's all being contested." My mother's voice cracked. "You wouldn't. I already did." My sister stood up abruptly. "You're going to tear this family apart over money?" I looked at her, steady. "No," I said softly. "You did that. I'm just finishing what you started." For the first time, they had nothing left to say. No excuses. No control. Just consequences. And the silence that followed, that was their collapse. The calls didn't stop after that day. They just changed. No more authority. No more cold detachment. Now it was pleading. My mother left long voicemails, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. My father tried to sound reasonable, talking about family unity as if they hadn't shattered it themselves. Even my sister called once. I didn't answer, not because I was angry, but because I was finished. The legal process moved forward quietly, slowly, exactly as it needed to. Some things were reversed. Some things weren't. It mattered less than I thought it would. Because the real shift had already happened inside me. I wasn't waiting for their approval anymore. I wasn't explaining myself. I wasn't asking for anything. One evening, I sat on the couch watching my son laugh at some silly cartoon. His face was relaxed, safe. That same little boy who had whispered through pain just days earlier now looked like himself again. That's when it finally settled in. This was the only thing that mattered. Not the house, not the money. Him. My phone buzzed on the table beside me. I glanced at the screen, then turned it face down. They only notice your absence when it costs them something. If this story hit home, hit that like button and subscribe to Winds of Thought for more real talk storytelling. Some people only realize your value when you stop needing them. And by then, the door is already closed. I didn't lose a family. I walked away from one that was never truly mine.